The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. We are so glad that you joined us today. Hey, my name is Pastor Zack, and I am so happy to host this beautiful podcast here for all of you. And today I am joined with my friend, a dude I love getting to hang out with, Pastor Brett, our children's pastor. Welcome on, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you, brother.
And I do have to give you a big shout out and a thank you because you are technically the guinea pig and the first up for this idea that we have had today. Because if you don't know, kind of the flow that we do with our podcast is a lot of times we like to go back and take a look at our the messages that we've been preaching. So we'll take a look on Mondays and Tuesdays, what happened here in Gehenna, and then on Thursdays and Fridays, we look at what happened in Johnstown. Well, right now, we're kind of in an interesting situation where all of our staff is kind of taking the world tour. So you get to preach at one place and then you take that same sermon and you preach it to the other campus. So that kind of eliminated our idea of being able to revisit both podcasts, or people would be listening to the same message almost every episode for a whole week.
Right.
So we're trying something new today. A little idea that the Lord, I'm going to say that it was the Lord and not just my sleeplessness. To be honest, I just couldn't sleep last night and was up thinking about, what are we going to do for this podcast? How do we keep it rolling? And, one of the things that we value here at our church is like changing people's stories and hearing people's testimonies. And often we do that with our congregation, but oftentimes we don't know the actual testimony of our pastors. And so we just kind of had this idea of like, let's just talk to our pastors and hear, your story, where the Lord has brought you, and what led you to where you're at today. So that's what we're going to do, bud.
I'm pretty excited.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're excited too. So you kind of have a unique perspective, unlike some of our pastors, right? Where you actually grew up in this church.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just start from the beginning. Like, let's look back at kind of your earliest memories of coming into church, what it was like coming up in here, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into your older years.
Okay. All right, we'll start at the beginning. My grandfather was born July 6th. I'm just joking. So yeah, Zach's right. I grew up my entire life. I've been here at Shepherd, that's part of why I'm excited, because it's such like a different story. I think you maybe don't hear very often with pastors that they get to pastor at a church that they grew up at.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to just kind of take it for granted. But so my family has been a part of Shepherd for a long time. Both my parents, shortly after they were married and attended MBNU, they moved to Gehenna, and they started attending this church. And then they moved down to Groveport, and my sister and I were born when they lived there, but they stayed commuting the 15, 20 minutes to come up here.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome.
Since before I was born and since I was just a couple weeks old, I've been at this church with my mom and dad and my sister. And like, it was pretty cool. I found the other day in my office my Bible that I got at my baby dedication, and I was
cool.
dedicated at this church by Pastor Eddie Estep, who's now our district superintendent. So
full circle.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Really neat. But yeah, I remember coming to church here as a kid. I remember coming here Sundays. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Shepherd, we've had lots of different service times, but I remember coming to church here at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And I remember as a little kid going down to the FLC. We used to do something called Grace Cafe.
Yeah.
I think it was in between services, and I remember just grabbing a bunch of chocolate donuts and orange juice. Lots of good memories. And if you didn't know this about me, my dad sings in a Southern gospel group called Hamilton Road, formerly Hamilton Road Quartet. And that was another thing that got me in the church pretty early on, was they had practice. I think maybe it was like Thursday or Tuesday evenings. And so my sister and I would come in here and we were running around all over the place in the sanctuary, probably very similar to what your kids do during rehearsals.
I was going to say, that makes my heart smile because I'm living that right now.
So I have lots of good memories. And it's really cool because like even today I was over at Prayer and Praise, and there are folks there that were telling me, hey, I remember when you were just this tall and running around this church. But yeah, lots of just great memories here as a kid. I remember Pastor Sam Barber being here. I was in the Boy Scouts. I used to, I remember a couple times going to him, selling him popcorn for Boy Scouts, like just fun memories like that. I grew up here in the kids ministry with Pastor Julie Stevens, had such wonderful memories with Julie. She was a great pastor. and like got to do kids musicals here at Shepherd.
Yeah.
There's probably some footage of that in my parents' basement somewhere that is hilarious.
I'll have to be digging that out sometime.
Yeah, I don't know. But my faith story like really begins, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I went to a VBS. It wasn't here. It was at a church called Fellowship Baptist, which was like 5 minutes from my parents' house. They're still doing VBS now. We actually have a friend that's running that. Nice. But I remember it was a huge production. I remember they had a magician that year that I thought was super cool, and he presented the gospel one night, and I remember going up to the altar and giving my life to Christ at a VBS. So nice. I think I've said that before, maybe even on the podcast, but that's a big reason why VBS holds a soft spot in my heart, because that's where it all began for me.
Right.
And I remember getting a Bible from Pastor Julie and starting to dig into it. She always used to say, if you grew up here with her, you would remember her saying, she would give us things at church, and she would say, take this home and put this on your bedside table right beside your bed. And so I remember when she gave me my Bible, the first Bible that I really loved, and I had it on my bedside table, and it was like a comic book Bible. And I still, when I tell and when I read stories from Scripture, I still remember so many of those pictures so clearly. So
that's awesome.
That was really cool. But yeah, and I attended here for a while. Now, when I moved up into like youth group age, like middle school, it was a weird time for our church because my sister's 3 years older than me, and she had Pastor Scott Jones as her youth pastor. And she was in the teen ministry when he left, and she loved him very dearly. And so with his exit and my moving up into middle school, personally, I had some weird stuff going on during middle school where I was moving from my home school district to a new school, so I had no friends in this new stage of life, totally different people.
Yeah, it's a big transition.
Yeah, definitely. And it was not a school that was near my family, so I was commuting. It was a different group of people there. There were a lot of folks that had nothing in common with me, not very many Christians at my new school either. And just moving into the youth group, I remember I was a little bit on the heavier side and not very athletic, and there was a lot of basketball players in the youth group, and I remember trying to play basketball with like high school boys, and I'm like, this is just not for me. And so that was a time of transition when I kind of like backed away from the church a little bit. My mom would drive up to Mount Vernon every week, which is where her parents lived, and so I on Wednesdays kind of chose to forego church at that time and was kind of just going and spending time with my mom and my grandparents, going up there and taking care of them. And so I kind of like, there's this dead zone in my memory of what Shepherd was like during those years. And I kind of stopped like engaging with the faith and reading my Bible during that time. But then early, let's see, must have been eighth grade or ninth grade. I started to come back to Shepherd, and Jason Minnie States were the youth pastors at the time. And this has always been like the coolest part of my faith story is like even all of middle school, really, I had like 2 friends, and I wasn't really that cool with them. So I was just a lonely boy at the time looking for friends. And I found a couple at Shepherd that I really started to get close with. And we got excited about youth group. We got excited about the word. We spent so much time together. We would come here. We did like blast stuff. Like I remember blast volleyball. I was on the worship team with them and the teen worship team. Church on Wednesdays, church on Sundays and Sunday nights. Like I started to be here all the time again, like I was when I was a kid. And I even got to do like some leadership team positions with the teen ministry. And it was cool for me because as I was aging and I was really starting to wonder, like, where are my friends going to be? Who are my friends going to be? And I remember sitting at our lunch table, even my freshman year, and being like, I always sit with these people, and I'm not close with any of these 3 people, you know? And then I would go to church on Sunday or Wednesday and be like, I want to spend every minute with you guys because you are my people. And it was always weird because, like, many of them went to Gehanna, and so I was kind of like an outsider in a way, even still. But they became very important people in my life. And as I was on that leadership team that the States ran, there was a time when Jason was like, hey, do you want to maybe just even share announcements one week on a Wednesday night? Because he's like, you speak all right, and you love the people here and seem to be enjoying it. I was like, sure, whatever. Like, I don't have a problem with public speaking. And so I did that, and it was fun. He's like, after that night, he was like, have you ever thought like maybe you were called to preach. And I was like, no, actually, I think I know what I'm going to be doing with my life. Thank you very much. And I was actually at that time I was advancing through my high school classes pretty quickly and going to start taking like pre-vet med classes at OSU, which my school had a partnership with. So I was fully planning on becoming a vet, and I'm like, no, I have a plan, and that's not a part of my plan. Maybe some of you that are listening have also had a plan that you told God what the plan was before. Unsurprisingly, things changed, but
Right.
he's like, well, even if maybe you don't feel like that's a calling, he's like, I still would like to give you a chance to preach sometime. And I was like, okay, like it sounds like a challenge. Like I'd love to study a passage and try and share with my peers. And so I gave it a shot. And I remember that night that I first preached, it was the most crazy thing because I was up there speaking, and I don't know how long I was up there. Probably wasn't very long, but after I was done, I was talking with some of my friends, and they were just encouraging me. And I remember that night, Curtis Stevenson, I think it was, posted something on his Facebook page, and it was like just a little quote, a little blurb. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That's pretty cool. And it was something that I had said on Wednesday.
Wow.
And I'm like, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm trying to say this as humbly as possible, but it was like, I felt like God was speaking through me, and I had never even considered that was a possibility.
Wow.
But after that message too, I remember feeling like, I think this is it. Like, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I had never crossed my mind before, and maybe never would have if I didn't have that chance to do so.
Yeah.
But I was just like, everything else just seems wrong now. And I remember I had a mentor at the time that would tell me like, hey, if you aren't called to preach and you try to, it's probably not going to go very well.
You're going to know. You're going to know.
But the opposite is true too, that if you are called to preach and you try and do something else, like God has a plan for you and a specific gifting and a specific people group to share the good news with. Yep. And so to try and stray away from that, it probably won't be too good either.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. And I remember going to my school counselor when she was like, all right, it's time to plan for college. She's like, all right, what do you want to get your degree? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure the plan now is I'm going to be a pastor. Like, I don't know where this came from. And it was a STEM school. So she was like, I don't even know where to send you for that.
I don't think we have that program right now.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I'm taking a kind of bird's eye view on all of this.
Right.
But that's kind of the beginning of the story of my call. Was like after that first time preaching, I'm like, this is what God wants me to do.
Right.
And from then on, it was kind of like, Lord, I don't know where this is going, so just give me some direction. And I remember praying so much, Lord, just give me direction, give me guidance. Where do you want me to go? And it always felt like, this is your next step. And I'm like, all right, but what about the next 4? Do you think you give me the next 4 steps? And it's like, nah, just this one. So I went to MVNU, got my degree in pastoral ministry, graduated in 2024. But that time, like college will always be a very special time for me because like, again, I keep coming back to this theme of like community that I found in the church. And I grew really close with some peers in college that I'm even still close with today, that we challenged each other academically and spiritually and relied on one another for accountability with things. And it was just a very special time for me. And for that, MVNU will always hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found further community within the church through that school. And they placed me at a little Nazarene church in Loudonville that me and my roommate were the co-youth pastors at for a while. And that was just a very encouraging time too, where we finally started to get to practice and flesh out like what it looks like to be a pastor. Yeah. And there's a lot of small Nazarene churches in the world, and that was one of them. So I was like, maybe this is what it's going to be like in real life for me after I graduate. It was just a special time where the pastor at the time, well, she's still the pastor there, Beth Heath, wonderful pastor. She left on maternity leave with their second son, and she asked me to be their interim pastor. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this at all.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, because we were kind of being youth pastors at the time, but it was small enough that we were like, if you're in 4th grade, whatever, you can come on Wednesday too. It doesn't matter. Yeah. We'll take what we can get. And then, so I was like, maybe I want to be a youth pastor because my concentration was pastoral ministry, which was intended to be like a lead pastor after graduating. Right. But then I did the youth pastor thing, and then I filled in for her, and I was kind of like a lead pastor. I'm like, this is cool, but it's also, there's a lot more to it than a lot of folks know. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be ready for this right after college, but just kind of continue to pursue on that track. And then it was the December before the year I graduated, when Rob and Joey reached out to me and like sat down and we had an interview, and they started talking about this job. And I remember thinking, like, this is obviously stuff I remember the best. It's most recent. They were like, we were wanting to consider you for our children's pastor. And I was like, well, a couple things, that would be kind of weird because I grew up there.
Right.
But also just like, maybe that would be cool. And I had never, like, again, I had done the youth pastor thing. I had been an interim lead pastor, and I didn't know if I was ready for that. But I'm like, children's ministry never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But I went and talked with some of my mentors at the school, and they're like, well, how'd you feel when you first got that call? Or like when they offered you the job? And I was like, started smiling. I was like, I don't know. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, that should mean something when you're thinking about it. So I thought, prayed about it. It felt like this is where the Lord was leading me. And in retrospect, it's like, it's so cool for me because I felt so oblivious the whole time to what, like I said, I felt like I was just asking God to give me guidance. And everyone else that I talked to about this now, they're like, well, we knew.
Right.
And I'm like, so you were the guidance that God gave me, but you didn't say anything about it. Thank you.
Right. Could have spoke up a little bit. Thanks.
Yeah. Like one of my teachers, she's like, yeah, I knew you were going to be a children's pastor. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. And even today when I was at Prayer and Praise, Dan was like, when you were this big running around here, I knew you were going to be a pastor. And I was like, what? I had no idea. But it is cool. And there's so many, like my mom was a preschool teacher for a lot of my childhood. And I loved going to school and teaching her preschoolers with her. Yeah. And I never thought twice about that. But I forget who it was. It might have been her that pointed that out. And I'm like, yeah, I love preschoolers even still today. I love them so much. Have so much fun with them. Like VBS was a blast with our preschool crew. Yeah. And yeah, man, this is, I even think about when I was at Loudonville. Like I remember the little kids really, really well there. And I think about them now, and I follow their parents on Facebook so I can stay in touch and see all the things that God's doing in their lives. But it's just been so cool. So, I mean, I guess the theme of my testimony is that like God gives us this very special community that we can be a part of. Yeah. And one of the metaphors that we use when we talk about like becoming a part of the Christian faith and following Jesus is one of adoption. You're adopted into a family, right? And that's so true of my life. I think about even during the teen years, I didn't talk about this, but I went when I was those middle school and early high school years. I went to this camp with my mom's side of the family. Their church, it's Church of God Anderson. It's a sister denomination of those Nazarenes. And that was a big part of my faith story too. And I found friends there and a community there, and I lived more than an hour away from most of them. Right. But all of us were drawn together because of our faith. And like, I really started to open up there because I found people that were willing to be vulnerable with one another. And you like all my quote unquote friends at school, it was like, we just made jokes and we're sarcastic with each other. And I'm like, I don't even know you guys. Right. But I can know these people in this community deeper than many of these people I interact with every day. They're just willing to share and be real with one another. And that's a great offering that we have when we are adopted into this family. Yeah. And that's what we are, a family. We take care of one another. We look out for one another. We want the best for one another. And that's not something you see in a world that is becoming, in my opinion, like increasingly self-centered and individualistic. And it's what a lot of people are longing for. Yeah. To find a community, to find a home. So yeah, and that's a big part of what the offer of the Christian faith is this community and this home, and not just obviously not just the people. The people, the love that they showed me was an overflowing of the love that God has for them. Right. Like that's what it all comes back to. We serve a God that is overflowing and abundant with self-giving love. And if people are faithful to follow that same God, then you'll see that in their lives. And I did. And I think that's so cool. Like my testimony is just, there were faithful people in my life that demonstrated the love of Christ, and it drew me in. Yeah. And so I'm still here. This is still my home. It always has been. Not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. I'm very grateful for the generations of saints that have poured into me. And even just this place itself is special to me. So
that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Well, I think for me, like when I hear your story and even your beautiful sum up of like what your testimony theme is how important it is to surround ourselves with people, godly people that are more than just the surface level. And, you know, part of my testimony is having people see something in me that I didn't see in myself yet.
Yeah.
Whether they say it or not, right? You know, to surround yourself with people that care enough about you to correct you when you need corrected, to point you in the right direction, to highlight things in your life that you might not see or might not believe in yourself. You know, for me, it was, I've always been very self-conscious of like, my abilities and, you know, well, there's always a better guitar player. There's always a better leader. There's always a better singer. And God's like, but I gifted you for this time.
Yeah.
And to have people in your life to remind you of that and to point you in that direction, I think is huge. One, for pastors, and two, it kind of makes me question, you know, how many people I've talked to, you know, in the quote unquote secular realm of work life, of how many people are so unhappy in their work, how unhappy they are in their everyday life. And I wonder how much of that is because they're not living out the calling that God has put on their life. Because like you said, when you're not doing God's will, you're going to know it. You're going to feel it. And so maybe that's my challenge as we wrap up today is, you know, to really take some time and to reflect, you know, are you doing what God called you to do? Or even in what you're doing, are you living out God's call in your everyday work? Has it just become a paycheck? Has it just become an everyday thing you have to do? What are the ways that God can use you in your everyday life? Yeah, I think that's a great challenge for all of us.
Can I ask you a challenge too, Zach?
Yes, please.
I'm just laying it on thick today for
Lay
the
it
people.
Thick, brother.
So there were many people that were so fundamental in the early stages of my faith, and even now today, I've been reminded that there are people that are praying for me.
Yep.
Like at prayer and praise this morning, I had a handful of people that said, like, I pray for you by name. And first of all, what an honor, what a blessing. Like it borderline moves me to tears just knowing that that's true. Such an honor. So my challenge is, to be that for somebody else, to choose a person, a couple of people that you will go to bat for and petition for in prayer, talk to them, ask how you can pray for them. Become one of those people, because that's part of what makes the church such a beautiful place and a wonderful community to be a part of. Yep. And my second challenge is just to dive head in, because like when I feel like my story is a story of like, and I'm trying to say this in a humble way, but like this is what the church can do. Like because my story is one of the church not failing me, but being there to support me. Like you can be that for someone else. You can be the support for someone else. And also you and your kids and your family can reap the blessings that are offered to you through a community of faith. Like this is something to be enjoyed together. The fellowship of the saints, the fellowship of the believers. Like this is something that holds a great promise and blessing for you. So I would invite you to join us in the fullest way, to give yourself to it. And then also to just try and be one of those praying warriors and friends to others today.
100%. I love it. I should just let you do the challenge, man. That was beautiful. Well, that is our challenge for you. And I can tell you right now, having worked here and working with others in ministry, there are a million opportunities to dive in and serve, and not just serve your church, but you get so much out of it, right? You get this fellowship. So if you are maybe on the fence, maybe you feel like God has been prodding you a little bit to find an area of service, man, please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you and maybe even help you discover the giftings that God is giving you that you're just trying to wrestle with. Please reach out to us at podcast@shepnaz.org. We would love to have that conversation with you and pray with you through this. But for now, have an amazing day.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.